Our guest today is Charlotte Lambert.
I was at the British Embassy, I was a Frenchie, and I was in Chile, and it was Brexit, and we had to work on how to renegotiate all of the bilateral treaties between Europe and the UK. You shouldn't be continuing with someone who's just not receiving that feedback. I thought so. It means that almost half of the skills that we have now are irrelevant in 5 years' time. I really believe into working in teams and collaborating, and I do think without the teams, the people around you really shaped you. And I would try to listen to myself the most, and be confident in the change that I want to make.
Welcome to Keeping Up with the SASIs, the podcast where we explore the projects, challenges, setbacks, and successes of sustainability and social innovators. I'm your host, Juan Pablo Grimaldi, and today I'm joined by a special guest. She has definitely explored all the different avenues of having a career. She has worked in government, she has worked at a VC and startup development association, she has worked for a very large company, and now she's looking into the technology industry. Furthermore, she's not only a professional, she also leads the organization HEC Transition. And it's a pleasure to welcome her. Our guest today is Charlotte Lambert. Welcome, Charlotte. How are you?
Well, thank you very much, Juan Pablo.
It's great to have you here. Just tell us, where you're taking us from?
I am based in my kitchen in Paris.
Nice. Have you been living in Paris for a long time?
I've been now living in Paris for the past 4 years, but I am French. But before that, I traveled a little bit.
Okay, that's great. I'm glad you are connecting back to your roots. So one of the first things I was quite shocked about learning about you is that you kind of started your work life in Chile, in Santiago. I believe it was a mission, an embassy mission. How did you manage to start your work life there?
Sí, señor. Yeah, I worked for a year at the British Embassy in Santiago in Chile. How that's actually a funny story. I started after high school in France to do an undergraduate student in international relations and business in the UK, and that was focused on diplomacy. After that, I really wanted to discover the world. I could only speak a little bit of English, and I really wanted to learn Spanish.
Okay.
Worked on diplomacy, and so there's been this fantastic opportunity where you had the chance to go to the British Embassy for 1 year, on the renegotiation of bilateral trade agreement between Chile and Europe.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I moved with my suitcase without actually knowing a bit of Spanish, and I took 6 months class thinking that I could speak an amazing Spanish, and when I arrived, I could not at all, because Chilean is very different from Spanish from Europe.
Yeah.
So it was a fantastic opportunity, but quite hard.
Wow. And where did you live when you're there? Did you have to figure out everything on your own, or because you were with the embassy, everything was kind of set up?
I wish it was. No, I stayed in a hotel for 2 weeks, and I ended up finding a house with 6 different people
Okay.
where I could, try to speak. It was fantastic because there were so many people from different horizon. And so I was the Frenchie working at the embassy, speaking a little bit of Spanish.
Yeah.
And my first week, I don't know if I don't think I've said that to a lot of people, but my first week of working there was Brexit. So
Wow.
I was at the British Embassy. I was a Frenchie. and I was in Chile, and it was Brexit, and we had to work on how to renegotiate all of the bilateral treaties between Europe and the UK.
Wow, it must have been very, very insightful to enter your career in a crisis situation. I think it must have shaped you a lot on what later came on.
Absolutely.
So the reason why you're here is we wanted to hear your story of what happened after you graduated the SASI. And we would love to hear how have you become the professional that you are? What have you been doing for the last 5 years?
Yeah. So if we take back from Chile, I finalized my degree, and I was thinking, and after that I moved to the UK in London, and I worked for a innovation and investment firm in London, specifically on corporate innovation that was backed by the British government. And so, I was working with large corporates, and I was seeing that there were a lot of innovation that were happening where we could have had some, we could have integrated sustainability as part of their business models. And so that was very interesting to me, but I felt I was missing a little bit the subject matter expertise. And so I decided to took a specialized master in sustainability. And I got the chance. I was lucky to have the opportunity to do a specialized master in HEC in Paris. Coming back after 5 years working abroad to France, which is not exactly France. In Paris specifically, it's a little bit outside, Juan Pablo, because we've been at HEC together.
Yeah, everyone gets tricked.
Exactly. And so for the people listening, HEC Paris is a little bit, outside of Paris. And so we call it HEC almost Paris.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I did my SASI for a year, and after that, I worked from large corporations such as L'Oreal, the cosmetic company, to then moving into tech, working in a small company first, and then now working for a large a tech company that I do, where I lead sustainability and social impact, and I'm responsible for the AI for Good program. And I also have a double clip now.
Very interesting. From what you mentioned, why did you think L'Oreal was the first step to take after the program?
A lot of people have asked me that, actually, because I'm not a cosmetic girl, if I may say. I don't wear a lot of makeup. And so, but I think L'Oreal, I saw it as an amazing opportunity to understand. So firstly, maybe I will share what I was doing there. I worked in their innovation lab in the global digital division as a first. And then I helped moving, and then I helped on developing their Tech for Good roadmap.
Okay.
And then, that was a first internship. And I really, back to your question on why L'Oreal, I think it was very interesting to start within a large company that worked in a global market with a lot of different divisions, a lot of different brands, to understand how do you sell, how do you market, and how do you understand the different cultural differences and the different market, realities of that. And so, I was at the corporate but digital, which I found L'Oreal very advanced on that. And so it was very interesting. And the role was not at the time focused on sustainability, but I really tried and pushed to work the Tech for Good work. And so I worked on the Tech for Good roadmap. And then after that, so that was the internship. After that, taken for a full-time job, as we call it in France. And so this was very specific on how do you drive the sustainability roadmap at a division level.
Was sustainability kind of a new topic in the tech space, or was it done? Was it new?
At the time, it was not new, but it was definitely the beginning on how to formalize. L'Oréal had they've been advanced on sustainability. They've developed several roadmaps on sustainability per se, but the integration on how do you bring tech and sustainability on that was something that we're developing.
Sounds like a very interesting role. What made you go more into tech? I think I think you fell in love, but tell me what happened.
I don't know if I fell in love, but what I find it very interesting is how it's very present everywhere nowadays. There is surge and a need of, tech literacy within the new young graduate and students, and skills that are going to be growing in the next few years. And the tech industry is very fast paced, and I love to be curious and learning about new things all the time. And so for me, it was very an environment fast paced where you could be enjoying that, as well as a bit maybe of a smaller company where you get to be a little bit of more of a doer within the company itself.
I see. And when you're mentioning tech, what's your definition of tech? Because being there, I'm sure it's quite different from what kind of everyone thinks about tech.
Yeah. Well, I see that's a very hard question, but I just put simply, to me, tech, it's as how to apply the scientific knowledge for practical purposes. And then there is a variety of things within, obviously. But yeah.
Okay. So you were working in the small company. How did you transition to your current role?
Well, at first, it's all about getting started, understanding the stakes. How do you, do a little bit of state of the art and understand where are the gaps and how can you contribute, and where do you think your value is as well, to be bridging that. So there is a bit of that. And also I've been started to be working and developing an association on the side called HSC Transition. So there has been a little bit of working on both of those as well. That has been fascinating.
What's kind of the work that you do, HC Transition?
Yeah, so HSC Transition is the alumni association of HSC students working on sustainability. So I'm the co-president with Alexis Milsé. He's also an alumni, and together we have the chance to be working with an amazing board of 12 people, and we have more than 3,000 members working and participating as alumni and non-alumni as well to the. And so the type of work that we do here, it's very much things from helping to spot what project can we be working on and advancing on, engaging different alumni and non-alumni, because HSC Transition is focused on three main aspects. We help advance sustainability advancement through three pillars: the school, the alumni, and the wider private and public partnerships. So the school, we help HSC to Paris to be contributing to its transition roadmap with, for example, the transformation of the curriculum and give greater visibility on impact career. The work on the alumni is very much around, how do we actively bring collaboration within alumni internationally and within that? And how do we partner with friends and abroad? And the wider is more around how do we aim to influence the public debate around citizens, other schools, policymakers, companies. And so, one example of that is the publication of white papers, for example, or contribution to different things.
Wow, it sounds that you have a lot of activities in there. I may ask, Were you a founder of the HEC Transition Alumni Club?
So I was not a founder per se. Actually, I was in the board. So I've been president for the past well, the time goes fast. The past 2 years, it's going to be 2 years now.
Yeah.
And I was at the board for the past, before that, 2 years. And it was actually a merge within two different associations, Economy
Mm-hmm.
Vet and HEC Transition, which after the dean of after a new dean at HEC arrived, there was a petition how the importance of sustainability within the mission of the school. And so there were a bench, and this is where several students, including me and alumni, and so I don't know if it's co-founders, but contributed to the roots and the beginning of it,
Yeah.
gathered to create that and merge it for creating a greater community.
I see. And so you were a board member of that initial stage.
Yeah.
How is that different from, or maybe you can tell me actually, what does a board member do and what does a president do?
Yeah. And that's actually something I realized on the spot. I had never worked, on that. So those are I find them very different roles so the boards, first of all, we have a monthly board meeting where we go over all of the different topics of agenda that could be potential new, for example, project or volunteers that are interested into joining project, seeing if we want to be participating or not to initiative. We have a lot of people, and project that are coming to HEC Transition and say, hey, can you relay that? Can you amplify that message? And it's the board role to be consulted by the president to be thinking, okay, is that, something that we would like to contribute or not? And to find as well different, and engage different volunteers to be bringing that. And so where the board is 12 people, and within this board this year we're defining for each person to have I would say it's not very vertical, but it's more an area of specialty. So it could be, for example, biodiversity, it could be circular economy, it could be entrepreneurship, or it could be tech, and so, or even communication, or engagement with alumni community. So they're helping on advancing this. And the president, I would say as well, it's also the people, the first door in a way to bringing the project to the boards and consulting them. I don't think a president will do anything, and I won't do anything without the board in itself. It's always a team that makes everything happen. And so it's very much, for us, a case of working all together. But governance, I think it's very key in helping to make final decisions, for example, where we have, we don't know, or when we elect a new president, or when we elect the board as well, the alumni would be the person that do that.
And you are co-president. What are the advantages of being of being two, rather than just one president?
It's absolutely amazing. And I think Alexi and myself felt super lucky to be able to be co-president, because sometimes it's a volunteering work. And so I think we need to also remind that I don't get to work. My full-time job is very much my full-time job. And I think this is going to be on the weekends, or very early in the morning, or our board, for example, meeting at 7 p.m., because we're working. And so having a co-president is amazing when you actually are not able to cover all of the aspects of that. So that's the first one. And also, it's also give you other perspectives on how do you kind of want to, sometimes you don't really know how the decision that you might want to do. And so I think that's really helping you to give you another angle and perspective as to decisions that have to be made, as well as the board would do.
I think that's very good, especially noticing that you cannot cover everything yourself.
Absolutely.
We will be right back.
Hey, SASI graduate.
Have you just wrapped up an amazing project or working on one that deserves more than a LinkedIn post? Share with us on the next season of Keeping Up with the SASIs. Fill out the form in the show notes and let your story inspire our community.
Hey, SASI grads, it's your SASI Alumni Hub, and we are bringing together every single cohort from the very beginning right up to the latest, connecting alumni and current students. We hold periodic events throughout the year that you won't want to miss. To get updates and invites, it's super simple. Just make sure you're registered on the official HEC alumni platform. That's how we reach you. So don't wait. Join us.
And now, back to the show.
I saw on your social media that you were able to give classes or give a lecture. I don't know if they were several classes, but you were giving a lecture to SASI students or HEC students. So I have three questions. How did you manage to create that opportunity for you? The second question is, how did you feel doing it? I guess the first time as a professor must be a little bit nervous. And the third question is, what did you learn from it? What did you got from doing this experience?
Yes. Yeah, actually, 2 days ago, I gave a class to M1 master students. So it was anyone. So M1 students, and that was a workshop on how to navigate and getting into a sustainability career as a graduate, which I feel is more and more demanded, but actually as well, all the more challenging nowadays with, the number of new skills on the market that they are required. So on questions that you've been asking on how did you manage, I actually can't really remember. I think it was through HEC talent first, or maybe the executive director, Deborah Carabel, who introduced me to HEC talent, and they had more and more students that were, undertaking sustainability, and they wanted to go into careers. And obviously I've been kind of doing a little bit of public, private sector as an HEC alumni, and plus that's a topic that I was really deep diving to, and so that's how I get the opportunity. And obviously, it's the third year I'm doing this, so you go into one, and after they look at the feedback, which as they should do, you shouldn't be continuing with someone who is just not receiving that feedback. So I guess the feedback is great, and I got the opportunity and the chance to carry on every year. And so
nice.
I felt, you always feel a little bit stressed. I think there were 60, 70 students 2 days ago, and they come to ask you so many questions, but it felt really inspiring. And I learned, to answer your last questions, that it's, the skills on the market are changing. 3 years ago, I was very much teaching around how do you get into sustainability career? What are the tips? How would you what do you need to put within your CV, for example? And how do you need to present and talk about what certificate is good to match your skills? I feel now, when I was doing the slides for that week, presentation, I was rereading the report, the World Economic Forum, and they were sharing how it's actually a crazy fact, how that 39% of workers' core skill will change by 2030. I was, appealed by that, and I thought, so it means that almost half of the skills that we have now are irrelevant in 5 years' time. And so it was quite interesting how, the top 5 of the key labor market drivers is the green transition. And so this is going to be there. It's not going to change. And how skills that we're seeing on the market are going to have to be to adapt to that. And so, one key thing I've learned is how tech and AI literacy are going to be critical for how do we portray that. But interestingly, the latest report was sharing how environmental stewardship is one of the top 10 skills that came as part of the skills that are important in
Oh,
core skills.
amazing. Like, especially with the media language use nowadays. I'm shocked you were finding those. And how do you prepare for this? Like you mentioned, you read the report.
Yeah, it has to come from experience as a first step. It has
Okay.
to from so I'm sharing pure experience on how I did. So I'll give you an example. When I looked for a job, it was very challenging 5 years ago, and so I kind of looked at it from a framework, or I don't know how we call it, like a 5-step perspective,
Mm-hmm.
as in that you need to understand, I was like, okay, I need to understand, what do I want to do? What I want to do, how do you want to do it? Because what you want to do and how do you want to do it is very different. Then you need to look at what you like. You need to then look at how do you match those skills? What certificates you're going to be taking, what skills you want to develop, that you think are going to be. You need to then look for the opportunity, and then you need to apply. And so that's 5 steps that I just took from myself, from my own experience. I decline it in very practical pro tip steps for any students to come in,
Mm-hmm.
take those steps to be able to, from understanding what they want to do, to go to the funnel of applying to that. And so I really started from experience. And then the additional things is I look at all of the new trends on the market. So what are the core skills that nowadays are thing? How do we want to apply? Nowadays there is AI. So how do you think about, networking and going outside to not only be giving away CVs, but actually going into networks, and what networks do we want to focus on, rather than others,
Mm-hmm.
for qualitative purposes. So it really comes from an experience standpoint, and retranslating and putting that within a very structured way for people to come in, take a framework, and then do the one step by step. And then as well, it's added very tangible, it's adding tangible, clear kind of insights from the industry that we're seeing. For example, the reports. I also looked at, okay, what are all of the roles in sustainability at the minute? How
Mm-hmm.
do you decline all of those roles? What are the skills? What are the missions? What is the salary that you're going to have, on average? And what are the different countries where one is more important than another?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the kind of things that I do to look at it.
Wow, I think it sounds very complete, and it feels that it gives you a fresh look every year that you're doing this on how the industry is shaping. So I think it's also a very cool exercise that you do for yourself.
Mhm.
Can you take that? Maybe you have thought of it, because I guess it's for your professional experience, but have you thought of it that what about the next step? I guess your class is how do you get started with a sustainability career? What happens is how do you grow? How do you grow within the company? How do you climb the ladder with a sustainability career? Have you ever thought about that? Do you have a chapter or kind of next steps?
For myself, wow, I feel I'm learning within my role at the minute. I'm learning every single day,
Yeah.
because sustainability, I feel, is a job that changes with the regulatory landscape, with the capital markets changing, with the expectation, the growing expectation from clients and different stakeholders, and even employees coming within companies. Then you get to work on so many different topics. And so I think for me, as long as I'm going to be continuously learning, this is where I really think, that's how I see.
It's very insightful. I'm very glad I'm talking to you. I think I'll use it for my own personal purposes. So, as I understand, like, and maybe I'm just simplifying all those 5 years that you have been working on. It sounds to me that you have put yourself to be in a position that it's always looking into the future. I mean, by working in tech, you mentioned that the technology and the 5 space is quite impressive. You are with the HEC transition alumni club, you're always looking at the new initiatives that are happening. And now you're giving a class where you are thinking, okay, what are the next trends that are going to be coming up in the side in the future? What do you think it's going to be a little bit on to the sustainability side? How is it going to evolve on the tech industry?
Yeah, so I think the sustainability world, it's evolving every single day.
Yeah.
We had the omnibus regulation in Europe
Yeah.
happening after the regulation really pushed on CSRD. I think it's evolving every single day, and so it's
Mhm.
going to keep on evolving. Change is a constant, I would say.
Okay.
If I have a little bit of a crystal ball, I think what we're going to see is technology being more involved within how do we accelerate ESG transformation within companies. And so, how AI and and tech are going to drive as well that, but there will be as well a need to understand how to mitigate the risks linked to that, as well as, using it for future opportunities. So all in all, I also think sustainability is going to be embedded, more and more within every single function. Whereas before we were really seeing sustainability as one department, I see now how within companies, it's very embedded within all of the different function,
Right.
marketing, people, procurement, sales, how do we sell sustainability now and how do we make aspect of it? So I think it's going to be a couple of those elements. Yeah.
I understand. I see your point. And also another aspect of what you mentioned of working at these of doing these kind of three activities is the sense that you are really international. In a sense, you're reading worldwide reports. You're seeing ideas from different places, how sustainability can adapt to different countries. I think that sustainability means a lot of things, but how do you manage to merge this international aspect into your work?
Yeah. So I think it's actually one of the most important aspects, I would say, that helped me within my job and day-to-day job and even progressing within my career is the importance of cultural openness
Hmm.
as well as international. It's so critical, I find nowadays, to understand how do you speak to different peoples and understanding, having empathy as well, and understanding how their cultures and how because you cannot really speak in the same way. For example, taking again the subject of sustainability within the US is very different from a sustainability within Europe.
Yeah.
It's very different as well from in Chile, if we take
Right.
Latin America. And so Europe, they can say the regulators are very on the forefront. And so in Chile, it's part of their core physical risk, where we see a lot of terremoto, I don't know,
Yeah.
earthquake.
Earthquakes. Yeah.
So exactly going, and so I think that's also something, even though it's not a direct link, I want to mention that, but I think we're seeing physical risk increasing more and more. And I think
Yeah.
this, so you, sustainability means a lot of different from within companies internationally. And I also think speaking, to different stakeholders from a different angle or understanding their languages as well is key when you're trying to upskill, educate, and bring awareness on those topics.
Hmm.
So to me, that's really helps me. Obviously, my role is my scope is global now, and so I think that's been very, a key element of trying to really understand that.
I think, yeah, I think it's very cool. And I guess your students are also international. So you get to hear ideas from all over the world all the time.
Mm.
So I would love to hear about your take. Something that I'm quite shocked, to be honest, to see that you are trying to have three different kind of professional lives as a professor, as a president in a volunteering organization, and having a day job. How do you manage to have all of this life at the same time? Like, where do you find time to do all these things?
Well, actually, I have to say that it's one is my professional life, so my work, the day to day
Yeah,
that I do, and the others are pro bonos.
yeah.
And so I think it's very important to remind that because I obviously spend much less time on the two and this third one rather than the first one.
Yeah,
Um, but having said that, I do think it comes back to what fuels you internally. Getting to meet new people all the time, it's really what motivates me and what drives me, and trying to learn at all time is something that I love doing. So yeah, there is early morning and late nights,
hmm,
but also it's completely helped me to be talking with young graduates to understand how they see and they view sustainability, and now help me to understand, for example, even what new candidates from my job would be expecting, from us,
yeah.
or you know working on sustainability at HEC Transition. It's all about community building and management. So it's also helping me to manage my team in my job, in my real life job. And so I think this is also, everything is interconnected. And I think this has been very, helpful.
Have you always been working in side projects all your life?
Yes, I've always been a a side project person. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess you mentioned meeting the people, but what do you think? Has it always been meeting people, the thing that drives you about doing side projects?
I guess what drives is around the learning, getting to learn insights, perspective,
Hmm.
different angles, and to nourish that of you, and trying to really implement and integrate that within it. I don't think I'm a people person.
Yeah.
I really believe into working in teams and collaborating. And I do think without the teams, the people around you really shaped you. And so, yeah, that's definitely something super important.
No, that's great. I guess one aspect I noticed from all your social media, but also now that you mentioned the way that on classes, new students need to work on their networks and be kind of intelligent or strategic about them. I think not everyone manages to take the risk of being present in social media. Can you tell me how did you started to put yourself out there to start bringing your persona in the digital world?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm the most LinkedIn savvy person, but I do think nowadays LinkedIn is it's very important to how do you build your own personal brand. There is a good friend of mine, Caroline Mignot, who's, helping to bring people to build their own personal brand. And I do
Hmm.
definitely think that, and so, yeah, go follow this person. She's absolutely great. But what I want to say is that, yeah, I do think personal branding is important, but it cannot be only that. I
Hmm.
think also, for the students that I what I share often within the class is that most of the for the students who are listening the podcast, I do think most of the job offers, and that who are, if they're looking into jobs, most of job offers are in shadows now, are shadow
Hmm.
job offers, and so the network is everything. And so, LinkedIn is such a great tool in terms of not even only sharing about what you do. Everyone I feel sharing about what they do on the platform, but it's also about connecting with people that have
Mhm.
this common interest and trying to really bridge those gaps that you might not know. And it's so easy nowadays to just, look at what they've done, look at what potentially you're interested in, contacting them and saying, hey, can we have a 5 minute, 10 minutes chat or e-coffee? So that's definitely something that, is very powerful to use.
Mhm. I think that's a good advice. I would say kind of just looking into the future, trying to see a little bit like you're advising a lot of people around on how to get involved with sustainability. I would love to hear what kind of advice would you give to yourself for the next 5 years. You mentioned you are asking people what they want to do for the next 5 years. So I would love to hear what do you think is going to happen, and I would love to hear what kind of advice would you give yourself to make it happen?
That is such a good question. It's such a difficult one too. I would say, hmm, I would say that be confident in the change that I want to make. We're often told that once you do a career, after you build experience and after it's quite hard to be navigating and changing or, you know, trying new things. And so I often been afraid in the past to just kind of think, okay, I haven't any, experience in sustainability. So how do you jump into that? And so, you know, I think listening to myself as well is something, and not being afraid of taking the leap of whatever I want to do, I guess. I will also give the advice to myself that I want to be um, trying to get more mentored for me as well. I think it's something
Mhm.
that's very important that I have started to do, but that I would love to be carrying on. And so, really, having someone that help you navigate your own changes is definitely, we're definitely something that I think, I want to give to myself.
That's very, very promising, it sounds. I think I'm very insightful. Like, if you hadn't thought about it before, like it really sounded that you knew what you needed. I guess I just have to thank you for the time you have given us and talking to us. If anyone would be interested in hearing about more about the work you're doing at HC Transition, or the recommendations you have for anyone starting a career in sustainability, or even the work you do and ESG and social impact on tech, where can they find you?
Yeah, so HEC Transition, the best is to go to our LinkedIn page, HEC Transition, like transition. And then for the alumni out there, we do have a WhatsApp, an alumni page too, and a even Slack for the people that wants to do. So, you can definitely go within the page, and the instruction are shared within the LinkedIn page. So that's the first one. And then for the kind of pro bono coaching, reach out to me through LinkedIn.
Well, thank you a lot, Charlotte. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us and keep up building our community. So it's great to see you, and looking forward to see how you'll be in the next frontier of sustainability.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Juan Pablo, for having me. It was amazing.
Thank you for listening and help us maintain our community one episode at a time. We will see you on the next episode. Blessings to you all. The content here is for entertainment and informational purposes only. The opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and do not necessarily reflect the views of any organization. Listener discretion is advised. This show may contain sensitive topics or strong language. Use the information at your own risk.